Hello and welcome back to Film Frenzy.
This is part 2, so if you missed part 1, make sure you go and check that out.
Yep, but we were challenged to make an action film in just 12 hours using the words pizza and broken.
Yeah, so without further ado, let's check out the unfortunately named Pepperuni. Hello?
Hey man, you delivered that pizza yet? We got like 4 more backed up here.
My car's just broken down.
I don't care, you got 10 minutes to get it there, otherwise it's coming out of your wages.
Evening, sir. 1 pizza.
Alright, so there we go.
Wow.
Thoughts on this one?
Well, I've never made an action film before.
No.
Neither of you?
Not really, no.
And I just kind of appreciate just how difficult it is to make a different kind of film.
Yeah.
Like, we're really used to making conversation kind of films, and this was just a totally different ball game completely. And yeah, it just really makes me appreciate that there are very different types of filmmaking, and this was one new one that you need to practice, just like anything else.
I definitely had a lot of fun making this one though. I think out of all the film frenzies we've had, this is the one I definitely had the most fun doing. Like you say, normally it's just a conversation of us normally arguing in some format. We've done little elements of, you know, fantasy or sci-fi and stuff before, but this is, as you say, something very different. And so it's just interesting to do something that was much more about the visual language of the film as opposed to something dialogue based, and, you know, having to go to multiple different locations and think of varying different camera shots, because that was one of the hardest things about this. Is we'll mention it in the first part, but coming up with different ways to shoot someone riding the bike.
Yeah, because it's basically you travel from A to B, and you've got to film that in as many different complicated ways as you can, and that's really difficult to come up with.
You kind of have to have the edit in your mind, but equally you kind of want to give yourself enough scope to have choice in the edit, but then we're also on a very tight time schedule. So yeah, but I just really enjoyed this one. This is something very different to anything we've done before, and actually had a lot of fun making this.
Me too.
So obviously, never having done an action film before, we were quite worried about making that part. But the weird thing was, I think in the final film, the action section is the bit that came out the best.
Yeah, mostly.
It was all the other stuff around it, the stuff that we should be good at, like the setup and the narrative and the dialogue and even like the comedy aspects that I think were the weakest part of it. which was very surprising to me in the outcome.
I would just say that as we were so confident with those early bits that we normally do, and then we weren't really thinking about them enough, and it just meant that we kind of put them to the back of our minds, forgot about them, and they came out a bit weaker.
A lot of our thought process was about how we're going to do the action. It was kind of just like, okay, let's get this other bit out of the way and stuff. And obviously we spent so little time writing this one. It was basically, we came up with an idea, wrote a couple of shots down and went out because we were right, but we knew it was going to take a lot of time to shoot.
Definitely.
And so narrative wasn't really a strong part of this. But in a sense, that's kind of in keeping with action a bit.
A little bit,
like, in a lot of, at least, rubbish action films, narrative is definitely the less important part of it, and it's more about the action spectacle of it.
Definitely.
So I guess in a sense we accidentally kept in style.
We did it how the industry does it, so that's all good.
So obviously this is your first time as a big action star.
Yes, it was.
How did you feel about it?
I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed myself. Obviously, very, very knackering. Like, really tough. That later that night, I could barely walk. My legs had just seized right up. But I had a lot of fun doing it, and I really appreciate as well the level of... You've got to do so many takes, the same thing over and over again, so much running around. But yeah, I really enjoyed myself doing it.
Yeah, the bike bits are definitely difficult because obviously you'd have to ride the path. This one short little section, which is basically only made up of like 6 or 7 shots, but we always had to do each shot like 4 or 5 times, and then it's just riding back and then going resetting, and then riding back and resetting. It is really knackering.
The main thing as well for me, it's so hard to look cool, like to have a cool look on your face, or at least just a normal look on your face when you're running, when you're sprinting your heart out, to not be like, just like putting
It's
this
also
crazy
hard to
face.
find that level of like not just looking gormless. I can't remember the shot it was, but there was one bit when you were running where you obviously try to do that. I'm looking cool and calm, and you just look like emotionless. You just look like.
Some of them I look really Terminator-like. I'm just running like.
One of them was just like properly like Terminator.
Yeah, but that was difficult. But for the most part, I enjoyed my action hero experience. Following on from that, I'd say my acting was terrible in this.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't your best. And I think it made it worse. Obviously, we had all the raw takes to view it all in, and there was lots of weaker takes in there, admittedly. I think in the context of the film, the acting isn't what you're really focused on, so it's not too much of an issue, I guess.
More for me, I felt very stupid. I looked very much like a pizza guy, and I had a pizza there under my arm. I'm pretty sure anyone walking by would have thought I was a pizza guy. Yeah. And I just felt very much on show being out in the streets like that. Like, we've done a lot of stupid stuff in the past, but for some reason I did feel, at least at the beginning, I felt very on show. And yeah, that maybe made my acting a little bit weaker. I wasn't really concentrating as much.
Yeah. I think like the acting is very sort of over the top and a bit almost pantomime-y, sort of when you notice the picture, like, whew, like that sort of thing. It's like, whew, oh, thank God, and then you run off. But it kind of, in a sense, works. Like, it needs to be over the top because you're seeing it so quickly. It's like you've got to get that emotion across in like half a second, and it's kind of, this whole thing has a stupid tone to it. So in a sense, I think it fits. But like I mentioned, the action was really what we were focusing on in this, and so the other stuff can sort of be a bit weaker, I guess.
I'd say one other thing that I think we were lacking were more kind of set pieces or obstacles along the route. Jumping over the gate was really good and things like that, but just a lot of it was just running or cycling pretty much in a straight line. Doing the slide, that was really cool, little addition. I would have liked to have, given more time, come up with more mini obstacles that I had to traverse along the way, and I think that would have helped with our variety of camera shots.
It's like obviously with all these things, the time limits always limit us in some ways, and I think that was probably where the biggest limitation was in this, is not having enough time to both come up with obstacles for you to do, but also find locations where there were obstacles.
Just to flesh it out a little bit. It was
just
all very...
a bit more variation, like you say. Yeah. I think, though, one of the things that really helped the action set piece in this was the GoPro we had.
The GoPro 7 just saved the day.
I know we mentioned it on the day, but like so many of those running shots, had we had to do it on our old gear, would have looked awful.
I don't think we really could have.
And I think they are the shots that are the strongest in those sort of, especially that one where you're riding on the bike and I run up towards you and then continue to run with you. It's quite a dynamic camera move, and something we definitely couldn't have done without that. So that definitely helped.
Yeah, I really enjoyed using the new GoPro as well. I think it gave us a real flexibility that we just wouldn't have had otherwise. Yeah.
Because if we had to rely on the sort of shots we're doing on DSLR, it's just you riding past and then quickly panning, and then you riding past and you quickly panning.
Those DSLRs, you really can't move around with them too much.
No, without like a proper steady rig or anything like that, it would have been really difficult to get much dynamic camera moves.
But the GoPro, you were sprinting at full power, holding it on an arm's length, and it was fine. It worked brilliantly.
But yeah, so that was our action film. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let us know if you did. And I guess we shall see you in the next one.
Yeah, as always, thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Really helps the channel out. Really appreciate that. And of course, our wonderful, wonderful patrons who help to support the channel as well. Big thumbs up to all of you. Thank you. But I guess until the next time, goodbye.
See ya.